delivering it back to the community is just a way of saving people's lives, you know. Saving people's lives doesn't mean that someone is going to die and you're saving him. No. Somebody might be in a very hard situation, but due to my knowledge, I can help him.
You are now a part of a graduate network that spans across the globe. Make sure you leverage it and connect with your fellow alumni.
When you're out in the industry, it doesn't matter what year you graduated. It doesn't matter how old you are. Because when it comes out to the industry and we're networking with each other, we can all have like-minded skills.
When it's a no-brainer and it's in your blood and it burns and it's what you know and it's what you love, and you wake up in the morning, you think about it, and you just have to do it at all costs. You do it. You're unstoppable at it.
I encourage you to keep persevering, don't give up, and have fun along the way. I did.
Good morning, graduates, friends, family, faculty, and distinguished guests. Welcome to the Torrens University Australia 2022 graduation ceremony for the Business and Hospitality Programs and Blue Mountains International Hotel Management School. I'm Dr. Claire Davison. I'm the Associate Dean for the School of Business Analysis and Technical Management. And it gives me great pleasure to be your leader of ceremonies today. I love saying graduates. In light of us gathering here today, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of Naarm, the land on which we are celebrating from. I pay my respects to the Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung and Bunang Boon Wurrung peoples of the Eastern Kulin, their elders past, present and emerging, and those who are present with us today. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. You're about to witness a ceremony that has its origins in medieval times, hence our garb, and continues to carry importance and even sacredness today. It's amazing to be part of this celebration. So before we commence, this is the formal proceedings. Please turn off your mobile phones, or at least put them on silent so we don't have any interruptions. And also I'd like to remind you that graduations are a day of celebration for everyone. So hopefully you have family, friends here today. Now this also includes young children, which it's really great to see, and hopefully one day we'll see them walking across this stage. But they might be a little bit noisy today, but that's okay. That's all part of today. It's all about celebrating with the people who have helped us get here. So please be patient and kind with each other. Now please be upstanding to welcome the academic procession. Please be seated. This morning I extend particular warm welcome to all our graduates, families, friends and our academics, staff and invited guests. I would like to recognise today's official party. Mr. Michael Reid, Board Member at Torrens University Australia, Professor Alvain Lowe, Vice-Chancellor of Torrens University Australia, Professor Emeritus Helmut Luckenhausen, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Torrens University Australia, and Professor Scott Richardson, Associate Dean of Business at Torrens University Australia. It is now my great pleasure to welcome the Vice-Chancellor of Torrens University Australia, Professor Alvain Lowe.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've once been at an occasion where they had a minister, politician speaking, but he was a very short guy. And he then had to change the microphone, and he said he just want to move it to the level of the ministry. So I hope that by moving the level here, we're moving a bit higher on the academic ladder as well. It is indeed a privilege for me to be here with you today. It is a privilege because graduation ceremonies are those special events. Very difficult to define. Because we're so excited about this thing that must happen that I sometimes wonder if we really understand, what it is that we're expecting from this day. I think probably the most important thing is the fact that we're getting recognition for our success. The fact that we've been working for a number of years towards a specific goal. We successfully completed that, and here we are today, in public, get recognition for you've achieved your goals. That's exciting, because we have those milestones in our lives, and each of those milestones bring us to a point where we again reflect on who we are, where we are, what we want to be, how we want to be, and sometimes if we want to be. So today, yes, recognition. Today, good, well done. But there's more. When I extend this welcome to our graduates and all the family members, friends, support structures, I also say that we are this community. In other words, by being together here, we also say that we are involved in a mutual task. In essence, we're involved in a task of supporting each other in growing and developing towards building a better society. Ultimately, that's what it's all about. We're all committed to make a contribution to develop the lives of people, to ensure that the well-being of people continuously improve. And of course, we want to be part of that. So when we recognize today, we say, yes, we are all part of a process of supporting each other to grow towards that bigger contribution in society. Most of our graduates succeeded in completing their qualifications during the COVID period. And we really want to congratulate you because it was a difficult time. A lot of changes happened and you had to make a lot of adjustments. But resilience pulled you through, despite the fact that it's changing, despite the fact that I doubt if I have the skills to move into a new mode of delivery. Despite that fact, you continued and you are successful. So if we look at the context in which we've worked, and I think with my discussion in terms of where are we heading, firstly, Torrens University is proudly a university for the future. Now, that's a big statement, because a lot of discussion happened during COVID and say, what is the new normal? And as people removed their masks and they removed all sorts of things, all of a sudden, we sometimes see people just want to get back to what they used to. And I think if we allow that to happen, we're actually not honest to our calling. This is a time where we must ask ourselves, what have we learned? What have we gained? And how do we optimize that into the future? So if we say we're a university for the future, we say that we actively interpret the impact of the fourth industrial revolution, because that was ongoing, and COVID came and basically triggered a number of the key moments in the fourth industrial revolution to make it move faster. So, understanding the fourth industrial revolution, understanding that the world of work is changing rapidly. The expectations of graduates are changing rapidly. And it's our responsibility as university to continue to understand what it means. We also understand that society has changed. We live differently. We organized and arranged our affairs differently. And therefore, as a university of the future, it's important for us to understand that and to interpret that. And in this context of being a university of the future, we are fueled by our vision to connect the world for good. So that's a big statement as well. How do you connect the world? You connect the world by being who you are and do that well. And our being is to do research, to understand the world better. Our being is to understand internationalization, to understand the challenges of tomorrow, and make sure that all our students, all our staff, the institution at large, facilitate that type of involvement and engagement with society that will bring that change, that will enable us to collaborate and to share and to work towards common goals. That is what we mean by connecting the world for good. So what drives us each and every day? There must be something that keeps us honest. And what we're saying is that we have specific values that we commit to as institution that serve as those clear points of reference to measure what we do, how we do it, and if we've been successful. The first thing for us is to begin and end with people. In other words, we respect people, we acknowledge who they are, we serve people and serve each other. In essence, we care. And because we care, we argue that we want to be good. We want to make sure that what we teach, what we research, what we do and share into the community, we make sure that those things are well planned, well thought through, well designed, and well implemented so that it will have a positive effect in society. Of course, we must be bold. We must be brave enough to face those nasty things. And I want to call it that. We don't want to steer away from those. We're willing to face them. And if you face the nasty things, you must really be ready to be creative. Because if you can't replace what you've unearthed with something better, you're in trouble. So we need to be creative. We want all our people to be well. We want to make sure that we look after our people. And we want to be global. We acknowledge that the world is a global environment, which we have to respect and we have to understand the interdependencies. But we acknowledge that these words are only on paper until we live it, until we see the product of it. And you, our students, you lived and worked with us for this period, and you brought these values to life. You lived these values through your involvement also with the institution. And it is our wish that by being part of this type of environment, you've internalized these values to such an extent that you will go out and live it also where you are going. In other words, if we connect the world for good, you are becoming ambassadors of these values. You are becoming representatives of these beliefs of begin and end with people, of being good and be bold and be creative. And we hope this is what you will also live. So today's ceremony is not only a chance to celebrate your success, which we do. We recognize all the sacrifices and everything that you've done. Well done. But you hear my plea. This is today. What about tomorrow? Where are you going tomorrow? What are you doing tomorrow with the product of the privilege you had to have studied at the university? What do you do tomorrow with the new values, with the new knowledge, with the new skills, the new competencies that you have? How do you take that forward? I want to make the point. You owe society. You owe your families, you owe your friends, you know everyone, but you owe society. We all owe society, and we have to go out there and make a difference. I must also acknowledge the support that has helped you along. We recognize that families, friends, support structures are imperative. It is not possible for students to be successful without the support that you provided. Thank you very much. Thank you for partnering with us in this education journey. Thank you for supporting students through this process. And often we understand a lot of sacrifices that go with that. It is now my great pleasure to welcome our guest speaker today, Dan Cockrell. Dan is a world-renowned leadership and business consultant and speaker. He held a variety of executive roles at the Walt Disney World Resort, both in the theme parks and resort hotels. His last 9 years with the company, he was successively Vice President of Epcot, Vice President of Disney's Hollywood Studios, and eventually Vice President of the Magic Kingdom, where he led 12,000 cast members and entertained over 20 million guests annually. Dan is also connected to our parent organization, Strategic Education, Inc. in the United States of America. He's part of the Higher Board, an incredible group of innovators and change makers who help SEI to further activate and expand their employability and social impact efforts across our 150,000 students globally. It's a pleasure to welcome Dan to share his story with you. Please join me in welcoming Dan Cockrell.
It's January 1st, 1992, and I'm 22 years old. I'm on a plane flying to France to start as the manager of the parking lot at Euro Disney for its grand opening. I speak 7 words of French, and none of them are appropriate, much less useful in a professional environment. This is my first full-time management position out of college. I've never lived in another country, and I've never opened a theme park. In fact, the list of what I have not done is much longer than the things that I have done. In that very moment, I had to make a choice. Am I going to be shy, self-conscious, and let my ego limit my opportunities? Or am I going to treat this like a hardy adventure in a faraway land? That was the beginning of a 26-year career at Disney that would take me through 19 different jobs. This Disney career would eventually lead me and my wife to starting our own speaking and consulting company, which brings me here today in beautiful Australia. Over that time, I've learned many things. I learned that you need twice as many employees to park cars in France than in the United States, because the French do whatever the heck they want to do. I learned that you do not open a theme park in France that does not serve wine, because the French and the Europeans want their booze. I learned you can extend your visa if you marry someone from the country you're working in. Enter Valerie, my wife of 30 years, who's from France. I learned that if Cinderella steps into the elevator and asks you to zip up the back of her dress, you do it, you get out at the next floor, and you wait until your face is no longer bright red. I learned that the warehouse at Walt Disney World that held all the food and all the merchandise and all the supplies for the site in 1971 is barely big enough now to store the chips. That's how big Disney World has gotten over the years. And I learned that when you're running a 6,000 room hotel, you better treat your housekeepers like they're the most important people in the world. Because if you don't have clean hotel rooms in a 6,000 room